It's 1879. The British and their native allies march into Zululand with the hopes of a quick victory against the native Zulu kingdom after breakdowns in relations. At the head of a 15,000-strong British and Allied force, Lord Chelmsford personally led the central column of three, soon finding himself set in camp at the base of Isandlwana hill. With a report from his native scouts that the main body of the Zulu army had been found, Chelmsford marches out of his camp at 4 a.m. with half of his force, leaving Pauline in command of some 2,000 men. However, unknown to him, the Zulu impi in which he hunted was already close to camp, the scouts only having found a distraction force. By 10:30 a.m, Durnford and his Natal native horse arrive at camp. With a hunger for action and a hope to cover Chelmsford's rear, he too soon sets out in the direction previous forces had taken. But by 11 a.m, the Zulu impi is discovered. Some 20,000 Zulu warriors shake out into their horns of the buffalo formation and set towards the British camp at Isandlwana. This is soon to be where today's game takes place, as the camp is set upon. A quick disclaimer before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's video. This is my first wargaming video ever, and for 2 out of 3 of today's players, their first wargame ever. Now, with that out of the way, today we will be doing a wargame over Discord with friends, being the Isandlwana scenario from Warlord Games' Zulu expansion for their Black Powder rule set. Both to be found in the description below. But with that out of the way, let's get back into today's video. For today's video, I kindly begged, i.e. I dragged them into a random Discord chat in which they instantly assumed I'd been hacked, so nice of them. But these 4 lucky men agreed to play along, probably out of morbid curiosity on what I was yapping about. It was mid-December back then. But nonetheless, we have Biggie leading H Company, and will be on the British right. Voodoo on the British left as C Company, Altair on the middle left as F Company, and Sniper Marine on the middle right as A Company. From this point on, I'll reference each by their company instead of their names. But like all well-laid plans, they usually fall through, seeing Biggie get called away a mere hour before we started, so no bullying Biggie for me. So here's what everything looks like for the players at the start of the game. Well, just for the players. No one, probably not even the players, want to sit here watching a PowerPoint slide change slowly for half an hour. So for your viewing pleasure, you'll get nice pictures of how the commands would look on the board, set out with my collection of 6mm Anglo-Zulu war miniatures. Link to get your grubby little hands on some of your own in the description below too. But I digress. The British commanders find themselves far from the camp and must make their way back south. The scenario is a competitive one between companies, and the points are awarding accordingly. 1 victory point per round on the board, 1 victory point for getting off the board's southern edge with a command, and 1 victory point for their buddy company, also getting off the board. But before we recall this battle, what exactly do I mean by a buddy company? Well, a buddy company is a secret other company that each player wants to get off the board safely for an extra point. Secretly, apparently being very loose in this game, as we spill the beans later about round 10. But for this game, both Altair and Sniper Marine had Voodoo as their buddy, and Voodoo had Altair. You'll see later why the beans spill, so look out for that. But with all that yapping out the way, let's get into today's game. Round 1, with the British starting each round first. they were able to position themselves how they wanted. And me, as both umpire and Zulu commander, just had to react, using Zulu spawns like that shown in the Zulu expansion. As round 2 starts, the first trickles of the Zulu force enter the northern edge of the board, as the British continue slowly pulling south into a hook shape which will, for all purposes, stay similar for most of the game. C Company covering the western flank, while F and A cover the north and east respectively. With round 3, the hook of the British changes sides, to pin the northern Zulu force into place, landing a disorder on MO1. And Zulus, however, aren't out, and 2 more units move onto the board. Continuing the grueling retreat south, the British change their orientation of their hook, now able to use Isandlwana Hill itself to screen their east flank, stopping pushes into their rear. With a hail of bullets and an amazing dice roll seeing the Zulus' western unit NO1 completely broken and removed from the field, but they'll be back. The north doesn't go as well, but still, Zulu units are disordered and refuse to push till they regroup. But by round 5, it isn't all rosy for the British commanders, as their southern trudge is stopped by a failed order roll by A Company, leaving him vastly in front of the line. The Zulus managing to close the gap and even have their western unit return to the board anew, with the rest having issues with disorder and heavy British volleys. Little changes by round 6, other than the British close ranks to fill the narrow gaps to cover A Company. Disorder still rife across the Zulu, holding them up. If round 6 was a little quiet, round 7 was not. The British returned to falling back south in cohesion, firing volley after volley at the Zulu, who, reinvigorated with 3 more units, finally get moving and close within spear throwing range of the British, leaving A Company of images of brutal fighting soon to come. But A Company wasn't the only one with hopes of combat, as F Company tried to charge out to steal glory and buy time for the others, only being stopped by his own troops' refusal to follow along. With a failure of the countercharge, the British let off volleys, but not enough to stop MO2 from catching A Company into a fight, drawing it out with the British company as both suffered a wound. With C Company holding the west, F's bloodlust kicks in, and they charge the side of the Zulu unit in combat with A Company, leading to the Zulu unit again run off the board to return later. With F Company's bloodlust not yet satisfied, however, they leave the British line charging a central Zulu unit, leaving C Company to fill the gap on a situation that continues to grow more dire as Zulu units start to close in both north around the slope and west. At this point, the players and the umpire agree to share who everyone's buddies are, as C Company grapples with the idea that his buddies went suicidally into supported Zulu units. However, poor rolling across the board strikes everyone in round 11, as F Company retreats barely alive from the combat, and British shooting that struggles to keep Zulu heads down, but good enough that the Zulus across the board either rally or just plainly refuse to push forwards, letting the opening made by F Company slip away without exploitation, a theme that continues till the end. Nothing better shows this mishandling of the game than round 12, as the British slip back into their usual hook shape, taking a forward stance, backed by volleys, leading to a Zulu unit giving ground. But Zulus finally refresh the attack, having missed the opportunity left by F, which could have ended the game 3, if not 4 turns sooner. Zulus close in and manage to get charges off, onto British reinforcements, but are repelled, leading to a 3-unit cascading into disordered retreat, giving some breathing space, but leaving both C and A Company injured and F nearly broken. With the prospects of either rallying or retreating, F Company retreats, leaving the other commanders to fight it out, with the remaining fresh Zulu charging from west and north, fighting harder with supported Zulu units barely drawing with British companies who were too nearly broken. Finally, the last round was the Big 14, seeing a company retreat from its combat barely by the skin of its teeth, surviving through to leave the southern board edge, but C Company, on the other hand, chose to fight on, either from ignorance to its danger, or from the hopes of lasting one final round to edge the victory from the other two. But this choice would end horribly, as the two fighting units broke each other, seeing them destroyed, costing C the victory point for leaving, and the others the victory point for C Company's retreat. But, as with the greying of the dead company, it's time to see who won this wargame. I think everyone enjoyed playing, or at least I did. So, I'll just do this live for you. Surely this adds tension, right? Right? As if a PowerPoint page adds tension, really, but I digress. Well, obviously, unless you just woke up, you'll know Biggie gets a big fat 0 victory points, because it's my video, and I'll bully him if I want and get consent. It matters, kids. Then, after a bit of quick maths, 2 players drew out at 14 victory points, and one won with 15. So due to leaving first, Altair finds himself in 3rd, and Fudu, even though he died, is in 2nd place, both sharing that 14 victory points, leaving Sniper Marine in 1st place with a big 15. With that all wrapped up, that's today's video. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed as much as we did playing the game, and me finally getting around to making it. But with that said, if you enjoyed, I'll see you next time. If not, there's a reason the thumbs up button exists. Enjoy.